I remember when Sean Bean did the voice role in Oblivion,
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls 4. You're like, oh, well, he's just doing a voice role. Character dies. It's like, really? Again? Like, we can't have... He's such a good actor.
But now
Yeah,
again,
feels so bad for
Boromir's
him.
death is incredible.
Oh, yeah, so
guy's
good, but-
good at dying. I can see why he
But
has to do it so often.
But apparently, Sean Bean, he's deathly afraid of helicopters. So they had the scene where they're up on the mountains, like climbing like through the snow and whatnot. Sean Bean was like, they went up there to do the first like shoot, and they had to come back the next day. And he's like, I can't be on that helicopter again. So they'd be like fly up to do shoots on top of mountains, and then they just see like a little like speck climbing up a mountain that was Sean Bean in his Boromir costume climbing up the side of a mountain trying.
And then walk 2 hours to
Yeah.
get to the location.
Wow.
Yeah, because he wouldn't. Because he was like, Peter, I can't fly in that helicopter anymore, and he was like, okay, well, we'll try and figure something out. And he's like, there's really no other way up there. It's like, unless you were like to take the ski lift and walk for 2 hours, and by God, he did it. Because like they were Vigo was just like, and we looked at it, and we just see this little speck, and he'd be waving at us, and it'd be Sean Bean in his Boromir outfit with the shield and the sword and the horn of Gondor, and he'd just be trudging through the snow.
And that's how it's done, too. That's how you overcome a phobia. Because it's like a phobia, it's like, oh, really, that really tough dude is afraid of helicopters?
Yeah.
But then he totally turns it around and becomes even more tough.
Yeah.
By actually walking up the mountain.
Yeah.
Well done, Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Mad props.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, he's gonna, like, I hope he doesn't, like, I know he's eventually gonna die, but it's gonna be so sad when he dies. Like, Sean Bean dies in real life!
Oh, my God.
But wasn't last week you were saying I was gonna be sad when Leonard Nimoy dies? Like, you gotta stop that.
No, that's gonna be really sad when Leonard... Can you imagine the day that Leonard Nimoy dies? That's gonna be heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, I don't know why Adam brings this stuff
I
up.
don't know either.
I mean, when all of our parents die, it's just gonna be so sad.
He's depressing our us and our listeners.
Yeah.
Man, okay, we need to...
Death is inevitable now.
We need to turn this around somehow, and like
I know how to- I know how we
like
can turn
rock
it
a
around.
stand-up comedy routine or something.
I know I have a funny story about The Lord of the Rings, though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead.
So, because I watched so many of the behind-the-scenes footage. So, Katie, who played Gollum?
Andy Serkis.
Okay, Andy Serkis.
So much of behind the scenes. I know Gollum's arm prints, but I don't know who played him. Ooh, we can talk about that.
Sure, but
Sorry.
I don't know what you're referring to. But
I
sure,
don't know.
it's he was doing this scene where he had to like jump into this pool and just like he was like it's the scene where he jumps into the pool, catches fish. He's like a tasty fish for Smeagol, and it's just kind of like and then they like capture him. Whatever. And it's funny when he's jumping.
All he wishes to catch a fish so juicy sweet.
She's
And-
right. That is the line.
Yeah, I don't actually.
like, I can't argue with it.
Anyway, so he's jumping into this pool, and it's like, and like when they're filming, when they're like in the scene, it's just like kind of like spring, but when they were filming, it was like in the middle of February. So he'd jump in,
yeah.
swim around, he'd get out, and he'd be so cold because it was like freezing cold water. It wasn't a set. He was in. They were out
Yeah.
in this
But of
like
course,
location.
late fall in New Zealand.
Yeah,
It was literally frozen. Actually.
yeah, and they
Yeah,
thawed the lake
They
out.
actually had to thaw out the thing.
So he jump out, and the Peter Jackson's like, yeah, we need to take another take. We need to do another take, and he'd be like, what? And he's like, get back in the lake. He's like, crap. And so he'd like jump back in the water, splash around for a bit, jump out again, and then they'd be like, yeah, we need to do that again. And so they did it like 8 times before Peter
I
Jackson.
think they did 4 or 8 takes. I don't remember the number.
It was
but
like
you're right.
it was a long number for jumping into a frozen lake.
Yeah, well,
What is
yeah.
incredible about Andy and about Gollum / Smeagol is that, like, I mean, I was telling Adam this, but every scene that is with Smeagol and Frodo, like any kind of physical scene, Andy like would play the scene completely in like a mocap suit, and like they would run it so like they'd be physically fighting, but obviously like you do like use the motion capture to guide the animation of Gollum, but like obviously Andy's about 3 times the size of Smeagol, so they would do the scene with him, and like I mean this guy like he got really bed up doing this role obviously because like you know how the character moves, but
Yeah.
they would take him out then and run the scene again, exact same arrangement with Elijah or Sean Astin like pretending to act with him, but like since they had just ran it with an actual other person, like I feel like it feels a lot more real than just, you know, sometimes actors would just like, you know, use maybe tennis ball like reference, but where he actually got in there and did the entire role. I don't think when they hired him, like they hired him for voice work, they did not expect him to actually act the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think makes Gollum like such
Like-
a real character. If you look at The Hobbit, like the animation is slightly better, but it still wasn't like Gollum always felt very real.
Yeah. I liked how they animated Gollum too, because they can make him be very, very like evil and nasty looking, but then they also gave him the big blue Smeagol eyes. They're like, "Aw, he's adorable," and so they were able to make like kind of differentiate between the Smeagol personality and the Gollum personality.
That's a great
And
point.
I think
Actually,
like
it's very
the
well
most
done.
defining feature of Gollum is when Frodo says like, "I know what stayed Bilbo's hand. It was pity," because it really is like you can't really hate him because he's such a sad character. Like he is just addicted, and it's very interesting.
Plus, I think the reason that Frodo couldn't kill him, or why Frodo said pity, because he wasn't really pitying Gollum, although he was. He was more pitying himself, because like, this is what I'm becoming.
There is a scene that never made either edition where in Osgiliath at the end of Two Towers, Faramir is talking to Frodo and has a flash of Frodo becoming like Gollum.
Yeah.
I'd love to see like the picture of making Elijah look like.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But of course, the sequence in Return of the King, where you watch Andy, like he's actually, acting as Smeagol, and then gets the ring, and you see him progressing. I think that might be extended. But
yeah.
I remember like he was, I guess he gets kind of depressing. Like you do all this really hard acting work, and you're never actually shown as your face. But there was one scene where I think Sam's cooking the rabbit stew.
Yeah.
And they have Two Towers, and it's like, oh, nice tasty potatoes or whatever, stick them in a stew, and he's like, oh, you ruined the rabbit. He spits a glob of spit, and he's like, that's my spit. That's actually my spit that's staying in the final cut. Like, so that's his.
It is very well done, and sort of also, opened the way for roles like that in the future. Like, I don't know, did you guys both see Benjamin Button?
Nope.
Yes.
Well, of course, that's not actually that 2 foot tall 95-year-old man is not actually Brad Pitt.
No, I thought they genetically. They genetically cloned, like Flash cloned him.
It's just incredible special effects. And it always reminded me of Gollum in that way. I'm just impressed that they managed to pull that off. And you can still tell it's Brad Pitt when he speaks too. You can still tell the acting is Brad Pitt.
With Andy Serkis, like trying to with Tintin and with King Kong, there's been some sort of like debate whether mocap should be like recognized as acting. I think the Oscars or the Academy doesn't really.
Oh, they don't consider that
like to be acting.
Like right. So if they were to award like a best supporting actor, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
He wouldn't get it for
the Apes,
Gollum,
right? With Caesar, yeah, that was the most recent thing.
That's intriguing. I think it should be judged on a situational basis.
Yeah,
honestly, because sometimes it isn't acting.
Yeah, but like for example, like Andy as Gollum was acting, he really was. But then other times you just get people who are like, I'm a bear, roar.
Exactly, and voice acting is not the same kind of acting, and I don't think voice acting should be included in best supporting actor.
But I honestly think the voice acting is harder, just because. Or harder.
I agree. It presents a whole different set of challenges, but I don't think it belongs in the best supporting actor category.
Something that I'm disappointed with is lately, voice actors that used to do the old Disney movies, you'd have actual voice actors, and that was their job. They were voice actors. But now, you get stuff coming out with Lorax, and you've got a voice by Taylor Swift and Zac Efron, and it's just you're selling the actors, even though they're not voice actors, they're good actors. But
it's not the voice acting that's selling the movie; it's the voice actors who are selling the movie. We'll get Brad Pitt in, and he'll do the voice of a narwhal, and we'll call it the Adventures of Nuri the Narwhal.
And that stuff annoys me too, also because oftentimes there are some actors who are legitimate voice actors, like Malcolm McDowell and Christopher Plummer, and that's different because those guys have voices that are iconic. Like Morgan Freeman is the classic. You see him on all those credit card commercials, which is great.
Or Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Yeah, who also has a voice. But those guys when they get Owen Wilson to voice something. So Owen Wilson needs to fire his agent. You know what? Never mind. Owen Wilson's agent needs to quit. That's what needs to happen. They just both need to move on.
Yeah. He had a good run. Although honestly,
he had a run.
Same with Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler needs to stop making movies just because his last good movie was Happy Gilmore, or not even Happy Gilmore. Was it the?
No idea.
The movie where he wins a bunch of money.
Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds. When his last good movie was Mr. Deeds, which was 10 years ago.
Oh my! Yeah,
Stop
that was ages ago.
Making movies.
Yeah, it's over. It needs to end.
Yeah,
there are a lot of actors like that just
now there's
not okay.
Yes.
Okay, you know what? Nicolas Cage has not made a good movie or a movie of equivalent caliber to when he won that Oscar since 99. Sorry.
But God bless him, he still tries.
It's just unbelievable. That's one of the most disappointing things in acting ever. The guy is in Leaving Las Vegas, wins an Oscar for the role, which was superb, and then the guy's in Raising Arizona, which was also awesome, and then he's in Oh no, wait! I'm sorry. The last movie good movie he made was in 2001. It was Matchstick Men with Sam Rockwell.
And then he was in The Wicker Man with the
and then
bees.
it ended exactly. And then
Not the bees.
He totally, as Simon Helberg put it, went off the reservation.
Yeah.
And it just ended. And you're like, what happened to that
Not
dude?
the bees.
Like it just disappoints me to no end. I still watch his old movies. I'm like, you remember that Nick Cage? Yeah. You remember that one? A B